overall point score through the first 2 rounds.
That's right, Gary.
And now back to our traditional Baker system game, 4th frame. Here again, Stacy Shapiro. She led it off for the Boilermakers, and now she comes through with a strike. So actually, Stacy Shapiro with a spare and a strike. We'll take a look at her fine bowling action.
Well, she learned something from her first shot, Gary. A little more direct, and watch the pin action here. The 5, the 6, the 5, the 6, and the 7, the last ones to go. Oh, she pumped. She's like, come on, give me some. Oh, the teammates, a little hard 10, brother.
Oh, yeah. Don't get in Stacy's way, man, when she is just rip-roaring, excited and ready to go. Now, for the Jayhawks of the University of Kansas, Tom Partridge. Tom has already bowled a 300 game. He's a computer science major. He'll put his old noggin to work. The gray matter leaves a 1-2.
Again, Gary, looking for a hook that's not there. I think the best way to play the lanes tonight is more direct. Don't rely on the hook in the back end.
So, 2 pins to pick up, the 1 and the 2. Here we go. Second shot for Tom Partridge. And just the way you pretty much want to nail that one.
Not a problem, Gary. That's a pretty easy spare.
And here we go through 4 traditional frames. Purdue University working on a double. University of Kansas, the Jayhawks, they're working on a spare. Rockin'. It's our 5th frame of our Baker system game. Traditional style bowling. We're all used to this. It is Andy Dole, a sophomore from Rockford, Illinois.
Andy's pretty pumped up. That was pretty hard there, Gary. That ball had some velocity.
But meanwhile, he leaves the 3 and the 6. So what went wrong here?
Well, you know, the ball went through the nose. Obviously, fortunate just to leave the 3 and the 6. Could have been a big split. Should make this with no problem.
Loves to play intramural football and basketball. So obviously, he's more than just a one-sport star. And here, he misses it. Wow. Misses both pins.
He's too pumped up, Gary. I mean, he's just getting up there and firing it.
This opens the door for Scott Light, a 21-year-old junior for the Jayhawks. But Scott leaves the 10-pin.
Yeah, the weak 10, Gary. The ball just doesn't drive to the pins hard enough, but it was a pretty good shot. I mean, that ball could have struck.
Scott will now attempt to pick up the 10. He's a graphic design major, and his career goal, many of us had this in college, our career goal, unsure. Oh, it was you know, that curriculum was so full of kids, you wouldn't believe it. So anyhow, here is Scott Light with his second shot at the spare, and that puts the University of Kansas right back in this game. Let's take another look at that shot.
Yeah, no problem here, Gary. Straight and firm at the 10-pin, no problems.
And here's the score, traditional style, through 5. Purdue University open in the 5th. They've got 80. University of Kansas, they're working on a spare in frame number 5. It's time now for Rockin Bowl. Your pens are showing. Well, the lights are off, Randy. We knew that Taylor had that power. All she has to do is clap her hands and the lights go. So here's the tough part. The strobe effect makes it very, very difficult to concentrate. And concentration here is a major factor. This is Jenny Burke for the Boilermakers. Here's her strobe light shot, and your pins are showing, and she gets an 8 count.
Not bad. Not bad at all, Gary. I mean, she got 8 pins. That's a good score. And this is a tough game. You got to stay focused.
Kind of hard to focus with those strobe lights right in your eye, affecting where you're laying that ball down on the lane.
Yeah, and possibly affecting your equilibrium.
Here is Mike Keeler. 19-year-old sophomore takes the shot.
Oh! It doesn't affect this guy.
Not at all. He has obviously spent some time in dance halls. Here you go, Rockin Bowl frames. It's still tight. 18-16 in favor of Kansas over Purdue. Let's get back to traditional bowling right now, and we are moving on to the 6th frame of our Baker system game. And again, it's very close here as well. Just a couple of pins separating both teams. Edward Smaglik, first-year grad student, 23 years old, from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This is not blackjack bowling yet. This is traditional, and he just picks off 1 pin. Did he choke, or was this just too much pressure here?
I'm not sure, Gary. It might be a combination of both, but you know, this is a pretty good bowler. He's got 6 300 games, and you don't bowl 300 doing that.
Well, he's also an avid runner and ran in the Chicago Marathon October 24th of this year. He's very much into computers and automobiles, so this guy is a well-rounded individual, and now adds 7 to that total, winds up with the 1 and 2 standing at the end of his 2 balls.
You know, I think a couple of the players on Purdue's side, they're too pumped, Gary. They need to learn how to control their emotions.
Barry Forkos on the approach for the Jayhawks. She's from Hanover Park, Illinois. Rollerblading, making grilled cheese sandwiches. All right, Barry can come over to my place and make some grilled cheese sandwiches. There's a strike and a big one.
That's nice, huh? Now, talk about handling pressure. This cool cucumber just steps up. Let's take a look at this on replay. She just steps up, real direct to the pocket, lanes are slick. This is the best way to do it, and that ball is dead flush. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye now. And Barry is happy getting the chance of her teammates in the crowd. 88 through 6 Baker system frames for Purdue University, but they're working on an open. The Jayhawks of Kansas, they're on a strike in frame 6, and they have the lead. With that in mind, we are getting back to traditional style bowling, our Baker system game. We are starting frame number 7. University of Kansas has a short lead, but the Purdue University Boilermakers are on the approach. Here's Scott Gilmore, the lefty from Monticello, Illinois.
Oh, yeah, he's pointing up here at us, Gary. He likes it. Let's take a look at this shot, Gary.
I think he's pointing to you, Randy. He says, bring Randy on, bring Randy on.
Bring it, brother. This ball, he gets a great break. Goes Brooklyn. 8-pin, the last one to fall. Watch this reaction. Right up here to us, Gary. He's like, come on. You want some?
Yeah, he's feeling pumped now. I'll tell you what. And that will, in fact, put the Boilermakers right back in the hunt here. Now, Christy Dessler, a 21-year-old freshman from Shawnee, Kansas, on the approach for the Jayhawks. She says she's great at being stubborn. She looked down at the foul line and leaves the 2, 4, and 5. Now, either she's stuck or is just curious about how close she was to a violation there.
2, 4, 5 is a very choppable spare. She has to be careful with this.
Where does she put this?
The best spot for this is the right side of the 2-pin. But now, if it goes too light, you're going to leave the 4.
In any case, Christy needs to pick up the spare.
Ooh.
Oh, and that is a very gutsy way to do it.
That was the right idea. Let's take a look at this, Gary. The right idea, but just a little bit left of the 2-pin. She gets a great break, catching the 5.
A great break indeed. Purdue University working on a strike in the 7th frame of Baker's style system scoring. And University of Kansas, 107 and a spare in the 7th. So they, in fact, have the lead. Well, it's time now for our Rockin Bowl frame. The next one coming up, we're going to find out. All right, so here we go. Again, you've got 5 chances, 5 throws here. And you want to get 21 if you can. That's not a bad start. 7. You do that 3 times in a row. You know, even if you're sitting at a table, that's going to be 21.
Well, Gary, if it was me, I would have to say, hit me.
Hit me. Here's Tom Partridge for the Jayhawks of the University of Kansas. And again, he is a computer science major, so he should know what it takes to reach 21. 5 attempts in all you have. You can even throw a gutter ball if you want. And there equally is a 7. So we've got both teams starting off with a 7 here. And what would be your strategy? You're looking for another 7?
No, you know what my strategy would be? Right now, I'm going to try to throw the ball around the 10-pin spot. I'm going to try to throw it in that area because I want to knock down 3 pins right here, Gary. I want to get to 10.
Notice Stacy Shapiro trying to get a little encouragement from her side of the rooting gallery here. And guess what? Another 7. That's 14. And 1 more of those, and you've hit 21 right on the head. So now Tom Partridge trying to at least pick up 7 here.
Well, again, you know, my theory would be here. If I could get 4, which is very hard to do.
Well, how do you do that?
Well, 4, I don't know how to get 4, but I know how to get 3. And he's going for it, Gary. That's how you do it, baby. Now he's got 3. They come back with a strike. They got 20. Put all the heat on Purdue.
All right, so here's how it stands. Both players have taken 2 throws. Stacy Shapiro for Purdue has 14 after hitting 7 twice. And for Tom Partridge, he first had 7, now he has 3, that's 10. Here is Stacy Shapiro's third shot. If she gets 7 again, I'll tell you what, oh, so close.
That's great, that's a great shot. What a gutsy move there. They've got 20, they're looking good, Gary.
I'll tell you what, her confidence level is so high, she planned it just that way.
Yeah, you're right, she's pumped, she has lots of confidence.
Now, it's 20 for Purdue on 3 shots. Now we move over to Kansas. Tom Partridge, if he strikes, it'll be tied up, 20-20.
All tied up.
And that is a total of 6. So I'll tell you what, you know that Kansas must go again. But right now we're going to find out what Stacy's going to do with Taylor Baldwin.
All right, you've got 20 points, they've got 16. Are you going to freeze or are you going to play? We're freezing. Better safe than sorry. All right, let's see.
We're going to head over to Tom Partridge now. He knows what he has to do. He needs 4 to tie, and he needs 5 to win. But he still has 2 shots left. A lot of pressure on Partridge right now. He's got the Partridge family around him. That's his teammates right there. There's he's got him now, and he picks off 1.
Well, now his work's cut out for him, Gary. He's got to go back and do that 3 count that he did back in the second ball.
Well, actually, he wants 4 because he wants it all. He wants 15 points. He doesn't want to tie Purdue. He wants to beat Purdue. Well, and how hard is it, as we said, to pick off 4?
I don't know how to get 4. You've got to get really lucky. He's got to do what he did when he got the 3 and then hope something kicks out of the back and takes out another pin.
Well, you want to see somebody knock down 4 in a full rack? Let me out there, because that's about normally what I get down on my first ball.
Wow.
And he gets incredibly close, picks up 3, and we are tied. And here's the score now, Rockin Bowl Frames. It's Kansas 23 and the Boilermakers 21. What a huge, huge Rockin Bowl frame. Back to traditional style bowling. Up on the approach for the Boilermakers, Andy Dole. He's a sophomore. Here is his shot. And uh-oh, that is ugly looking.
Yeah, the 7-9-10. Talk about a tough split. But you know what? Even though it looks really bad, this is makeable, Gary. You got to fit the ball in between the 9 and the 10, sliding the 9 pin over into the 7.
And here's his shot. Andy Dole picks off, boy, just picks off the 9 pin there. So they will have an open, the Boilermakers will, in the 8th frame of our Baker System game, sitting on a score of 114. And the University of Kansas, the Jayhawks, they are beginning to cruise. They are on cruise control. And here is Scott Light looking to show the Kansas Jayhawks the light. He's going to show them the way as we move into the late frames of our Baker System game. Here we go. His first shot. They are working on a spare, so pin count here most important, and he gets a late kick of the 4 pin, leaving the 1 and the 2.
Good break, you know, he didn't leave a washout. Missing the head pin a lot of times, Gary, you get a bad break by leaving the 10 pin with it, which we call a washout. Here he's just left himself the 1-2, should be a relatively easy spare for him.
You know, his teammates call him the Fish. That's his nickname. Scott Light likes hanging out with his collegiate bowling buddies. Here we go, the shot. Oh, you know, we saw that coming a little bit too far right. It wasn't hurrying back. Here's the score, 8 frames of traditional style bowling. 114 and open for Purdue University. 134 and open for the University of Kansas. Here is Taylor for our next Rockin Bowl frame, our frame of chance.
I'm here with Brian, the coach of Purdue, and Mike, the coach of Kansas, and I'm going to ask them to reach into our bowling bag of mystery and pull out 2 audience participants who will help us in our next Rockin Bowl frame. We need